Hello and welcome tonight. As the countdown to the June 20th Ekiti State governorship election begins, 13 political parties signed pact to ensure that the exercise is peaceful and credible. Political activity gathers momentum as the All Progressives Congress holds primary election to pick its governorship flag bearers ahead of next year's poll. African Democratic Congress intensifies preparations for next year's general elections, launches movement to mobilize young people to vote. And Russia and China condemned the United States' decision to charge Cuba's former president Raul Castro with murder as Washington continues to ramp up pressure on the island.
On business news, strong demand lifts central bank treasury bills auction as allotment hits 829 billion naira.
On sports news tonight, Mikel Arteta says he questioned whether he's good enough to deliver a major trophy for Arsenal before finally winning a Premier League title for the Gunners.
From the nation's capital, federal government reaffirms commitment to tackling terrorism and insurgency in the country. Says welfare of officers and men of the armed forces will be prioritized.
On June the 20th, all roads lead to Ekiti State for its governorship election. And 13 political parties, including the ruling All Progressives Congress, have committed to ensuring that the exercise is peaceful and credible. Now, the political parties signed the peace accord for a violence-free poll at the state capital at Ekiti, a process midwifed by the National Peace Committee.
Thank you so much.
Candidates from 13 political parties contesting the forthcoming Ekiti State governorship election, members of the National Peace Committee, and officers of the Nigeria Police Force, led by the Inspector General of Police, are in the state capital for the signing of a peace accord.
Ekiti State and of course
Incumbent Governor of Ekiti State, who is also the gubernatorial candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Biodun Oyebanji, candidates of the African Democratic Congress, the People's Democratic Party, the Accord Party, and 9 other political parties are physically present for the event as the INEC chairman seeks their commitment to a peaceful election.
Democracy thrives when peace prevails. Each one of us has a part to play in this process. And I urge all political parties, their candidates and supporters to adhere to the principles of this accord.
In his remarks, the Inspector General of Police urged political parties and their candidates to engage in political engagements that will help deepen public confidence in Nigeria's electoral process.
I therefore urge all parties to uphold the spirit and letter of this peace accord by conducting their activities peacefully and placing the interest of democracy and the people above other considerations.
The governor of Ekiti State, Biodun Oyebanji, speaks on behalf of the candidates, promising to walk the talk.
It's not the signing that is important, it's the character of those holding the pen. So I stand to make a commitment on behalf of the government that I'm leading and other contestants that the election will be peaceful, because it's only in an atmosphere of peace that can actually serve our people.
With the speeches over, candidates put pen to paper, signing the peace accord for a peaceful and credible election next month.
It's 8 p.m. Can you come forward? The candidates and chairman.
Apart from the politicians, the National Peace Accord also has an advice for the electorate.
To stay alive, not to enjoy the benefits of democracy. And that's why violence is counterproductive. It doesn't help anybody.
With the peace accord signed, stakeholders anticipate that the exercise will be free of all forms of violence that could negatively impact the outcome of the polls.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima has appealed to aspirants who lost out on the contest to represent different constituencies to sheathe their swords for the good of the general public. The Vice President Shetima disclosed this shortly after the affirmation of Mustafa Gubio as All Progressives Congress governorship consensus for Borno State in Maiduguri, the state capital. Meanwhile, in Jigawa, Kebbi, Kaduna and Zamfara State, incumbent governors have secured their second-term tickets.
Vice President Kashim Shetima, Governor Babagana Zulum, among other prominent politicians, gathered at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim College of Education, Maiduguri, for the affirmation of Mustafa Gubio as the APC consensus governorship candidate. While Governor Babagana Zulum described the emergence of the candidate as divine, the candidate Mustafa Gubio pledged to build on the successes of Governor Zulum when elected. Meanwhile, in Jigawa State, the APC has officially endorsed Governor Umar Namadi as its consensus candidate for a second term ahead of the 2027 general elections.
With this opportunity they have given me, I want to also implore you that we have done the first step. Now we should all raise up for the election in 2027, so as to ensure that by 2027, all our APC candidates, right from Mr. President, up to the members of the State House of Assembly, are duly elected.
In Kebbi, Governor Nasir Idris is received at the Halilu Abdu Stadium by a mammoth crowd of party supporters. Leading the affirmation exercise, the chairman of the Kebbi State APC Governorship Primary Election Committee from the party's national headquarters conducted the exercise, raising the governor's hand for the crowd's endorsement.
I see this opportunity to accept my affirmation, and I want to thank them for giving me this opportunity. I have done it now, and by God's grace, they know I will do it again.
In Zamfara State, Governor Dauda Lawal also emerged as the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress for the 2027 governorship election in the state.
Well, I thank Almighty Allah for giving me this opportunity and for giving Zamfara people this very good opportunity where we are all together now. There is no more faction in APC or any other party that I can see in Zamfara State. So it is a very good sign, and we thank Almighty Allah for making this thing possible.
The situation is, however, different in Bauchi State, as confusion surrounded the exercise amid growing concerns that the exercise has been postponed. Although the party has not issued an official statement, journalists observed that voting did not take place at any of the expected venues. At the party secretariat, security is tightened with a heavy police presence stationed at the premises. In Kaduna State, Governor Obasani won the governorship ticket of the All Progressives Congress.
I accept with a deep sense of responsibility and honor the decision of our great party to adopt me as the consensus candidate and flag bearer for the 2027 governorship election.
As more results are expected from other states, the All Progressives Congress is optimistic that it will emerge with candidates that will be victorious in the coming polls.
Staying with the All Progressives governorship primaries, or the APC also held the exercise across several southern states, with most incumbent governors securing the party's ticket for the 2027 election cycle. However, the process in Rivers State stands as a notable exception. In this report, we look at the APC governorship primaries in Rivers, Delta, Ogun, and Ebonyi states.
It's a carnival atmosphere at Rumodani Playground, Ward 5, Elelewong in Obiakpo local government area in Rivers State, as supporters of the All Progressives Congress elect their governorship candidates.
Start with counting now. If you are in support, please join the line. We want a single profile. Want his line only.
Following the withdrawal of Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Toye Cole, and George Kelly, Kingsley Chinda emerged as the sole aspirant. Party members gathered to affirm his candidacy.
I might not be the best in the state, but all the assurance I will give is that we are going to serve the people with the fear of God and respect for the rule of law.
Meanwhile, in Delta State, Governor Sheriff Oboriwori has been declared the APC governorship candidate. After voting in Oha Okwe local government area, the governor commended the party leadership for conducting a peaceful, transparent and credible exercise, emphasizing that the direct primary process reflects genuine internal democracy and grassroots participation.
When I obtained my form, I was the only aspirant that bought form, the only aspirant that was cleared, the only aspirant that is standing today. And I give God the praise for the respect, for the show of love that they have shown to me.
In Ogun State, Governor Dapo Abiodun joined members at Ward 3 Ikperu in Ikene local government area to vote. The party opted for a consensus arrangement, resulting in the endorsement of Senator Solomon Adiola as the governorship candidate.
You can see that these direct primaries allows everyone to exercise their franchise. Every party faithful that is registered comes to their ward, displays their voter's card, and they are allowed to queue behind the candidate of their choice. And we must give kudos to our president.
Governor Francis Nwefuru, who emerged as consensus APC governorship candidate in Ebonyi State, is promising to sustain and expand developmental projects aimed at improving the living conditions of the people.
I'm also very particularly concerned on the issues and also on the number of projects that you're expecting us to do. But by the special grace of God, with your prayer, all things being equal, we'll be able to execute it.
As the APC wraps up these primary elections across the South, the party appears to be prioritizing consensus and direct affirmation to maintain internal cohesion.
Indeed, there's more from the APC governorship primaries, and in Lagos, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commended the electorate for turning out to support the Deputy Governor, Kadri Hamzat, who is the consensus candidate of the APC in the state. He noted that the direct primary process allowed party members at the ward level to freely participate in the emergence of the party's governorship candidate. Speaking after casting his vote, Governor Sanwo-Olu noted that electoral officials and party representatives were on ground to ensure a credible exercise.
As you can see, it's a family-like activity. Yes, there's a large crowd. We're very peaceful and largely orderly. And so when you see a set of people that are very happy, you will know that you need to be able to accommodate them. And that's what's happening here. I want to commend everybody for coming out peacefully and for expressing themselves. Our candidate will emerge as the flag bearer of our party, and at the general election, by the grace of God, he will return as governor-elect come January.
On his part, Mr. Kadri Hamzat says the turnout of his supporters and orderly process points to a bright future for internal democracy. He then advised those planning to disrupt the 2027 general elections not to see it as a conflict, but a contest of ideas.
We must thank members of our party and the accreditation team that came from Abuja to witness the whole process. So as we can see, it was transparent, people queued up, so it was option A4. So we must thank everybody. As hot as it is, people stood up right here waiting to be counted. And at the end of the day, we saw the numbers. Democratic competition is not a war. It's a competition of ideas. how do we move our people forward? So if your intention is to move people forward, to develop the state, why do you need to fight? So our party will never be involved in that. We will do things peacefully. As you can see here, we are peaceful people who are in a joyous mood. So that's the momentum that we are taking to the election. It's not about fighting. We will come out with our manifesto. We will come out with our programs. We will come out with what we want to do to elevate our state. We will come out with all the programs. We tell the Georgians that we understand the history, we understand the geography of our state, and that we are the best party to deliver on the progress to build a state that can last, a state that our children, our grandchildren can be proud of. So it's a competition of ideas.
In part two, after the break, leaders of the Ijaw and Urhobo ethnic nationalities in Delta State commend INEC for addressing decades of political disputes in the Warri federal constituency. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. As the countdown to the June the 20th Ekiti State governorship election begins, 13 political parties side pact to ensure that the exercise is peaceful and credible. Political activity gathers momentum as the APC holds primary election to pick its governorship flag bearers ahead of next year's poll. African Democratic Congress intensifies preparations for next year's general elections, launches movement to mobilize young people to vote. And Russia and China condemned the United States' decision to charge Cuba's former president Raul Castro with murder, as Washington continues to ramp up pressure on the island. As political parties continue to strategize, the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, is hoping to leverage the population of young people in Nigeria to win the 2027 general elections. Speaking at the launch of a movement to mobilize voters, National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Bolaji Abdullahi, urges young people to rise up and use their numbers to decide the outcome of the polls next year.
The former national chairman of the African Democratic Congress, the National Publicity Secretary, and other national officials of the party are here to launch a movement the party intends to use to mobilize voters for the 2027 general election. The movement is targeting young people whom the ADC leaders seek their active participation in 2027.
All the successes we have recorded for almost the last 20 years, or more than 20 years ago, more than 20 years now, has to do with our young people. So now that you've decided to come to the top stage, get yourself involved in politics.
RUN is not designed as a movement of spectators. It is a movement of participants, a movement for young Nigerians, community leaders, and every citizen who believes that competence, accountability, inclusion, and patriotism must define the future of this country.
For the ADC National Publicity Secretary, he expresses optimism that young people can use their numbers to vote the ruling All Progressives Congress out of power in 2027.
How do we stop this APC from coming to power? Again, we must see this as a responsibility to provide a space for younger people. I have no doubt in my mind that the only thing holding the APC together today is power. When you take political power, government power, out of APC, you don't have a political party.
The ADC recently cleared 3 presidential aspirants with the hope of zeroing in on one at the primaries to fly the party's ticket in 2027.
In Delta State, there's cause for renewed optimism for the Ijaw and Urhobo people, as leaders of both ethnic nationalities in Warri have commended INEC for what they describe as a bold step towards addressing decades of political disputes in the Warri federal constituency through the Supreme Court-ordered fresh delineation of electoral wards and polling units. At the press briefing in Warri, the groups pledged to embrace peace and fully participate in the 2027 general elections, insisting that the newly created wards, state constituencies, and proposed additional federal constituency have now significantly addressed long-standing agitations over political representation in the area.
The controversy over ward delineation in Warri Federal Constituency has been one of the most sensitive political issues in Delta State for years, with the Ijaw, Ishakiri and Urhobo ethnic nationalities repeatedly raising concerns over the final report of the delineation exercise carried out by INEC. While some stakeholders have consistently asked for the results to be presented, others disagreed with the result of the same exercise. The most recent is the joint world press briefing held by the Ijaws and Urhobos, threatening that elections will not hold in the Warren constituency if the issues are not addressed. Weeks later, specifically on Wednesday, the 12th of May, INEC convened an emergency stakeholders meeting in Asaba, where the long-awaited delineation report was officially unveiled to representatives of the three ethnic nationalities.
Having looked at what we have proposed, we now looked at the constitutional powers that the Commission had and came to the conclusion and approved that additional state constituencies should be created in Warri North, that hitherto earlier had one, to make it 2 state constituencies, additional one in Warri South to make it 2 state constituencies, and then the Warri South that already had the 2 should be left as it is.
Reacting after the presentation, leaders of the Ijaw and Urhobo ethnic nationalities in a press briefing in Warri described the development as a major breakthrough capable of restoring peace and stability in the area.
The Ijaws and Urhobos of Warri appear the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for acting in accordance with the order of the Supreme Court of Nigeria by releasing the final report of the delineation for the conduct of the 2027 general election. We also thank the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for creating additional state of assembly constituencies in Warri North and Warri Southwest local government areas.
They praised INEC for addressing years of political agitation and pledged their readiness to cooperate with all stakeholders ahead of the 2027 general elections.
One of the most significant points in the newly created state constituency is the recognition of the ethnic diversity of the people in the federal constituency of Delta State. We also commend the security agencies for their collective efforts in maintaining law and order in the federal constituency. Consequently, we express our collective resolve to fully cooperate and participate in the 2027 general elections in the federal constituency of Delta State.
While reactions are still expected from other interest groups, this latest development marks a significant turning point in the prolonged political and ethnic dispute surrounding ward delineation in the Warri Federal Constituency.
Let's switch our attention now to the nation's capital, where we have more news and reports, and of course, Gloria Umizoke is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Ayo. We begin with the federal government reaffirming its determination in tackling terrorism and insurgency in the country as it assures of commitment to the welfare of men and officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces. At the unveiling of a book in Abuja on counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency operations in northeast Nigeria, the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, and a representative of the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, assured Nigerians of ongoing efforts to strengthen the capacity of security forces against insecurity. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
It's a convergence of both military experts and civilians under one roof to witness the unveiling of the book Counter-terrorism and Counterinsurgency Operations in Northeast Nigeria, written by a former force commander of the multinational Joint Task Force, Major General Ibrahim Yusuf. It's been about 2 decades since Nigerian forces have engaged in a relentless battle against terrorism in the Northeast and other parts of the country, a pressing threat that has claimed thousands of lives and led to huge humanitarian crisis.
One name stands out.
The book sheds light on various military operations, highlighting successes and challenges recorded.
He says intelligence is the currency of counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency. Now, especially because this is not something that, contrary to what you do in conventional warfare, can be driven by technology. It is human intelligence that is key, because you're dealing with human populations and you need to dominate, that terrain where the insurgents are also operating.
The Minister of Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff will underscore the importance of the book as a resource for understanding and confronting the multifaceted threats of terrorism and insurgency, emphasize the need for a comprehensive approach in countering these threats.
The administration continues to provide strategic guidance and necessary support to the armed forces and other security agencies to effectively address the complex security challenges confronting our nation. This laudable effort reflects his enduring passion, patriotism, and unwavering commitment towards seeing Nigeria overcome the scourge of terrorism, insurgency in our dear country.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, represented by a Special Advisor on General Duties, highlights the efforts of the federal government in tackling insecurity in the country.
Mr. President understands that the morale of the soldier matters as much as the strength of the weapon he carries. Under his leadership, the federal government will continue to prioritize the welfare of our troops and ensure that our armed forces possesses the technology or the technological advantage required to neutralize threats against our nation.
The book, written in 2 volumes, is then unveiled to the public. These publications are expected to serve as tools for policymakers, military practitioners, and researchers in finding lasting solutions to these lingering challenges. From the National Defense College, Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, strong demand lifts central bank treasury bills auction as allotment hits 829 billion naira. That's some business news. Let's join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. Now, stakeholders in the nation's broadcast industry have questioned the procedure adopted by the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, ahead of its planned digital switchover by June 12 this year. Now, speaking in an interview in Abuja, the chairman of the Association of Licensed Set-Top Box Manufacturers, Mr. Godfrey Ohapunwa, stated that the NBC has failed to carry broadcast media owners along before embarking on the planned transmission. He further criticized the rationale for charging license fees while withdrawing frequencies, alleging that the Commission's actions contradict the federal government's DSO 2012 white paper, threaten industry investments through the procurement of transmitting equipment from China.
The NBC on their own went ahead without the industry, without anybody that they want to change. Now, you want to change, what happens to, if you change with this system? The question NBC should ask first, before we go further, what happens to all the investments? What happens, what investments of running to, as off my head, I can say more than 150 billion. Who pays the banks? Number 2. 3, the boxes you have asked me to manufacture are in the warehouse. Who buys them? The TV stations like Channel, AIT, there are more than 50 state televisions. What happens to them if you change to do internet and DTH? The minister, with due respect, knows the truth. I've explained to you. BOI knows it. Federal government knows. People know. The fact that people have not started rioting. If many people riot, who have these boxes in their house? You tell them to go away. Are you going to, first, if NBC want to do that, first NBC has to sit down. If you want, we're not against the technology. Get it right. You can change technology. You can change new things. No problem with that. But you must follow procedure. And that is what the federal government is saying. What Tinubu is saying, that there's a procedure. One, there's what they call Nigerian first. NBC want to get import 5 million set-top boxes from China. This other information is in their paper. So how do the NBC is working against the federal government? 3, or next, election is coming. It's not you want to off TV. You want to off TV when the election is starting next month? We already campaign. How? They are not thinking. They are not thinking. Somebody is just trying to chop money, and I'll say it very clear. If not, what I was a rush. Call the stakeholders, and this is our request to federal government, is that President Tinubu, as industry, broadcast, we say broadcasters, you release money. We're happy for that. But NBC is not following the procedure. They're not getting the industry involved. 2, they cannot switch off now. Election is by the way. 3, what they want to switch off will not work.
Into company news, Wema Bank Nigeria PLC today held its 2025 annual general meeting in Lagos, announcing a profit of 195 billion naira, representing more than 125% increase from the previous year. The board described the performance as a reflection of resilience, disciplined execution, and tangible progress in advancing the bank's growth agenda.
Executive management of Wema Bank converged physically, while shareholders joined virtually for the 2025 annual general meeting.
Before we proceed with the formal agenda,
the chairman addresses the gathering, presenting the annual report and accounts for the year.
I now formally present and lay before you the bank's audited financial statement as at 31st December 2025.
The financial scorecard shows strong growth. Gross earnings rose by 52%, while profit after tax surged 125% to 194.5 billion naira, up from 86 billion naira in 2024. The results also reflect improvements in customer deposits, assets, and loan disbursements.
The directors are pleased to recommend a dividend of 1 naira 25 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo each.
At the meeting, shareholders unanimously adopt the report and accounts and approved special resolutions empowering the board to drive reforms, re-elect directors, and declare a dividend of 1 naira 25 kobo per share.
I hereby move that a final dividend of 1 naira 25 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo each be approved, and that the directors be and are hereby authorized to pay same today, May 20, 2026, from the profit during the financial year ended December 31, 2025.
Responding to shareholders' questions, the Managing Director and Group Chief Executive Officer outlined strategies for future growth and sustainability.
One saying, we will continue to make sure that we follow the money. We'll continue to make sure that we put branches in places where it will be profitable. We'll continue our spread nationally. We'll also make sure that the capital that has been raised will be spent on creating good loans. We'll make sure that we spend the capital on making sure that we expand our digital frontier. So we will spend on the platforms of engagement and on the platforms of defense. When I took over as MD, my promise was that we're going to take this bank to where it belongs, and where it belongs, I believe, is in the ranks of the top-tier banks in Nigeria. And if you look at our records over the years, over the last few years, you will see a deliberate and intentional act of taking Wema to that place.
Building on a profitable year, the bank says 2026 presents significant opportunities to consolidate market leadership deepen customer relationships, and deliver sustained value to stakeholders.
As shareholders of Consolidated Hallmark Holdings PLC are to enjoy a total dividend of 25 kobo per ordinary share of 50 kobo for the 2025 financial year. But this was a major highlight of the company's third annual general meeting held today in Lagos, where shareholders and the company's directors assembled to review the group's performance and outline future projections.
The third annual general meeting of Consolidated Hallmark Holdings PLC provides a platform for stakeholders to evaluate the company's financial stewardship and strategic direction.
The item number 2.
Among the major achievements highlighted for the 2025 fiscal year was a significant expansion of the balance sheet, with total assets surging by 33% to 76 billion naira, up from 57 billion naira in 2024.
In the last 1 year, so much has happened on our stock, so much of price improvement on the back of the value that the board and management have been creating. And we really want to thank you for not only keeping the stocks you have, you are also increasing what you are holding.
Shareholders take turns to ask questions and seek clarification on resolutions reached. The high point of the meeting is the declaration of dividend by the chairman.
Directors recommend a final dividend of 15 kobo per share payable to shareholders whose names appear in the register of members of the company as at the close of business on the 29th day of April 2026. Please note that an interim dividend of 10 kobo per share had earlier been paid on 27th of August 2025.
According to the management, this is all part of the success story of Consolidated Hallmark Holdings PLC.
We declared a total dividend of 25 kobo by ordinary share. That's the single largest dividend that has been declared since the dividend history of the company. And you can see the performance of all the shareholders today. Everything was calm, everybody was happy.
One of the things that I'm impressed about is that more dividend was declared this year than last year. It means that it's a step in the right direction and that the company is actually doing well.
Responding to investor expectations, the management outlined plans to diversify income streams further, aiming for a higher profit margin.
We're looking at, in the future, looking at other business opportunities, particularly in real estate, probably in the microfinance sector, so that we can target the micro, small and medium-scale enterprises.
As the meeting wrapped up, management reiterated its call for the public to engage with the company's shares, assuring investors of long-term capital appreciation and value creation.
That's it from the nation's capital. It's over to Ayo in Lagos for more on the news at 10.
Many thanks, Gloria. In a growing collaboration between key players across Africa's industrial and financial sectors, the President and Chief Executive of Dangote Industries Limited, Aliko Dangote, has received the Chairman of First Holdco PLC, Mr. Femi Otedola, alongside senior executives of the group at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery in Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos. Now, the two business leaders say the visit reflects an expanding alignment among leading African business figures who share a common vision for the continent's development, anchored on production, energy security, and sustained investment in local capacity.
The chairman and senior executives of First Holdco PLC arrived at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemical Complex in Ibeju-Lekki, Lagos. The visit, viewed by industry analysts as a strategic alignment between two of Africa's most influential financial and industrial entities. The delegation is received by the President and Chief Executive of Dangote Industries Limited, Aliko Dangote, and conducted on an extensive tour of the vast industrial complex, including the fertilizer plant, the laboratory, and the refinery's main processing units. The visit concludes with an in-depth operational briefing on the facility's construction and its technical capabilities. Since its commissioning, the sprawling industrial hub has become a focal point for global business leaders and organizations seeking to support Africa's industrial resurgence and economic transformation.
On a personal note, I've appealed to him. I've been here with him 25 times. So my compensation is going to allocate to me shares worth $100 million in the private placement. That's one of the reasons why I sold my stake in Geregu Plant to come and invest my proceeds in the IPO of Dangote Refinery. I wish Alhaji Aliko, who is a colossus, a genius, probably one of the greatest men that has come out of Africa, for delivering us out of economic slavery.
From Guinea, from Senegal, they're all here. And I'm sure they will go back to their country and also speak to big businessmen in their own countries to also do something similar.
In his response, Alhaji Dangote discloses the company's plans to go public, as well as expected revenue in the nearest future.
But what we are trying to do is actually bringing in people when it is at this low level and for them to have an upside. So we want it to be like when you buy, Amazon, or you buy this, or Apple. All those people, everybody has become a millionaire. And that's the kind of, that is what we want to bring into Africa.
The visit by the First Bank team to Dangote Petroleum Refinery in Ibejuleki, Lagos, included directors and top management from First Holdco and its subsidiaries, such as Olusegun Alebiosu, the managing director and chief executive of First Bank Group.
Business News is up next with Will Ibom.
Thank you, Today. The Central Bank of Nigeria has allotted a total of 829.32 billion naira at its May 20 Treasury bills auction, surpassing its initial target on strong investor demand. Now, the 91-day paper cleared at its stop rate of about 15.9%, the 182-day at around 16.1%, while the 364-day bill settled at roughly 16.2%. The auction featured the standard 3 tenors and was heavily oversubscribed, reflecting sustained appetite for government securities. Now, Elon Musk could become the world's first trillionaire as SpaceX moves closer to what could be the largest initial public offering in history. Reports say the rocket and satellite company is preparing for a public listing that could value the firm of up to $1.75 trillion, with plans to raise as much as $80 billion from investors. The listing is expected to boost Musk's fortune, fueled by stakes in SpaceX, Tesla, and other technology ventures. SpaceX says revenues climbed strongly last year, driven largely by Starlink's satellite internet business and investments in artificial intelligence and space infrastructure. And speaking of investments, you see the domestic equities market ended the penultimate session today, slightly up in positive territory. Here's Ladi Williams with the highlights of today's trading.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, Thursday trade ends near flat. Not much action today. We see the all-share index still maintaining the previous level of 249,000 points, just about 5 basis points higher. So it's still flat. And we see the 159 trillion level for the market cap. Gainers today, we see leading the charge, International Energy Insurance PLC. That's an energy-focused insurance company. That topped to the full 10% advance. 3.41 to close. Then for the losers now, a lot of stocks shed prices today. 43 number. We had the food gas. I also saw pharma companies like May & Baker and Nimeth down today. So it's a wide negative market breadth. The TGIF trade tomorrow. We'll see if things change.
And let's check out the closing numbers for other major global equities. And that's business news. I am Will Ibang. Is back to Ayo for more on the news at 10.
Many thanks, Will. Over now to our London studios, and here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Democratic Republic of Congo has cancelled its pre-World Cup training camp in the capital Kinshasa because of an Ebola outbreak in the east of the country. Preparations have been moved to Belgium amid the upsurge, which is thought to have killed more than 130 people. The World Health Organization has called the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. A spokesperson for the national team told international media that pre-tournament games in Europe would go ahead as planned as the squad gears up for their first World Cup since 1974. China has called on the US to stop using coercion and threats against its ally Cuba after Washington indicted the former leader Raul Castro on murder charges. An American court has accused the 94-year-old former president of conspiracy to kill US nationals over the 1996 downing of 2 planes, an incident which killed 4 people and fueled diplomatic tensions between Washington and the Caribbean island. US President Donald Trump has repeatedly sought to exert pressure on Cuba and has openly discussed toppling its communist regime. On Thursday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Guo Jiakun said the US should stop threatening force at every turn and that Beijing firmly supports Cuba. Sierra Leone has become the latest African country to receive migrants deported from the United States amid Donald Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. A plane carrying 9 West African migrants landed at Sierra Leone's international airport just outside the capital, Freetown. Last week, the foreign minister told reporters his country had agreed to accept up to 300 people a year expelled by the United States. However, he added that the new arrivals must originally come from member states of ECOWAS. Air France and Airbus have been found guilty of manslaughter over a 2009 plane crash which killed 228 people. The Paris Appeals Court found the airline and aircraft manufacturer guilty of corporate manslaughter over the incident in which flight AF447 between Rio de Janeiro and Paris crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. The passenger jet stalled during a storm and plunged into the water, killing all on board. A court had previously cleared the companies in April 2023, but were found guilty after this appeal. There has been international condemnation of Israel's treatment of pro-Palestinian activists who are on board a Gaza-bound aid flotilla intercepted by Israeli naval forces. The US, UK, France, Italy and Canada are among the countries which expressed outrage after far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir posted a video showing himself taunting activists kneeling with their hands tied behind their backs. His actions also drew rare criticism from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said they were not in line with Israel's values. A rights group representing the detainees said they had been physically abused, resulting in severe, widespread injuries.
The actions of Ben-Gvir himself have been condemned from wall to wall, from the leadership of the entire state of Israel, the Prime Minister of Israel, the Foreign Minister of Israel have all condemned thoroughly the actions of Ben-Gvir. But we must separate this issue from the flotilla itself, that the flotilla itself is a provocation, which is unnecessary. It's trying to break a legal blockade of Gaza, which is necessary for the security of the people of Israel. There's no necessity for these flotillas. Humanitarian aid can be delivered very easily. You don't need a flotilla for that.
A fire has destroyed the Raikado Hall on Miyajima Island in the city of Hatsukaichi. Raikado is part of the Daishoin Buddhist temple complex and houses the Eternal Flame, which the temple says has been burning for nearly 1,200 years. The temple has moved the flame to a different location, and authorities say the fire may have been caused by it.
Oh, hell nah, bro, look.
And a man has been arrested in Texas accused of intentionally driving his Tesla Cybertruck into a lake to use the vehicle's wade mode feature.
You can't park there.
A witness captured the partially submerged vehicle. Wade mode allows a Cybertruck to enter and drive through bodies of water, such as rivers or creeks, at a maximum depth of 81.5 centimeters, according to Tesla's online manual. The driver was arrested on charges of operating a vehicle in a closed section of the lake and for other water safety equipment violations.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. As we approach the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the media have been advised to find more creative ways to tell their stories without the Super Eagles' participation at the world's biggest football showpiece at an executive roundtable session in Lagos on Super Eagles and the World Cup. The lessons for the media. The convener, Deji Omotoyibo, believes more can be done to leverage on the historic tournament. Club footballer Mikel Arteta admits he questioned whether he was good enough to deliver a major trophy for Arsenal, claiming he was vulnerable before finally winning a Premier League title for the Gunners. In his first media briefing after guiding the Gunners to their first top-flight title in 22 years, Mikel Arteta admits he couldn't bring himself to watch the game.
You don't realize it, probably. It's one of the best feelings I ever had. I'm supposed to be here at Colony watching the game with the boys and certain staff because that's what they wanted, but I couldn't. I think 20 minutes later, before the game, I had to leave. I couldn't bring the energy that I wanted, and I think it was their moment as well to watch it together, to be themselves, and just see what the outcome would be. And I went home, I went outside to the garden, I started to build some fire, and I started to do some barbecue. I didn't watch any of it. I was just hearing some noises in the background in the living room, and suddenly the magic happened.
And Aston Villa fans celebrating the Europa League trophy after a 3-0 win against Freiburg on the final. Aston Villa dominated the game in their first major European final for 44 years to secure manager Unai Emery his record-extending 5th Europa League. The fans there with the vibe. But that's sports. I'm Kelly. It's back to Ayotunde.
And the main news again. 13 political parties today signed a peace pact to ensure that the exercise is peaceful and credible. And the All Progressives Congress has held its primary election to pick its governorship flag bearers ahead of next year's poll. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Bolu. You have a good night.